Hello. Hi. So nice to see your faces. So if you just sit where you are and be comfortable, close your eyes. We'll breathe out. If you haven't done this before with us, this is something that we do regularly on Maui, at Maui Ki Aikido. It's at the Shinshinkan Dojo. Sayaka Reasoner and I retranslate some of Koichi Tohei Sensei's teachings. And this is because, for one thing, they were translated many, many, many years ago, way back in the beginning, some 50, 60 years ago, just after Tohei Sensei first wrote them. They were translated into English by, who knows, someone in the West. But Aikido was just in its infancy in the West, and not much more than that in Japan. So the translations tend to be very shallow, sometimes pointing just to the physical, and often not as inclusive as we find the original writings of Koichi Tohei Sensei to be. So I always start the sessions by reading you the first translation that we've used for the last, as I say, 50 or 60 years. And this is the original translation of the 5 principles of ki breathing. Now, of course, Tohei Sensei did 20 sets of 5 principles. And we've already covered 5 or 6 of them. And so at this point, we're working our way through, and right now we're at the 5 principles of ki breathing. The original translation, the first principle says, exhale gradually with purpose and control. The second principle says, exhale with a distinct but barely audible sound. The third says, at the end of the breath, ki continues infinitely like a fading note. Number 4, inhale from the tip of the nose until the body is saturated with breath. And number 5, after inhaling, calm the mind infinitely at the one point. So that's very good, but it's not exactly what Tohei Sensei wrote. And I will now read you the 5 principles of ki breathing as translated from his original words. Number 1, exhale gradually with ease. If you recall, the other one said with purpose and control. Someone added that. Tohei Sensei said with ease. Number 2, exhale with the smallest sound possible. Not much change. Number 3, exhale gradually from head to toe. Number 4, inhale through the tip of the nose and fill the body from toe to head. And number 5, after inhaling, calm yourself at the one point in the lower abdomen. The only thing that really strikes me as different between these 2 translations is this new one is much more simple. And I think that's a really important key to ki breathing. We tend to, as we do with many things in our lives, make ki breathing a difficult task. And I think it does 2 things. It discourages us from getting up in the morning and practicing ki breathing, which is what both Tohei Sensei and my teacher Suzuki Sensei, and now me, have encouraged everyone to do. But it also prevents us from really enjoying this. It reminds me, Suzuki Sensei, his famous phrase was, breathe, 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 fellas. So whenever he was teaching a seminar, he would always tell us, breathe, breathe, breathe. But, when he says that, he's saying enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. He's not saying do, do, do. He's not asking us to take on this heavy burden of getting up every morning or before we go to bed every night, breathing for half an hour or an hour. You know, when I used to Otomo for Shinichi Suzuki Sensei, we often traveled to South America or Europe or the United States or Japan. And in those days, we stayed in the same hotel room together. There wasn't finances to allow anything else. And so he would get up early, of course. I could never manage somehow to get up earlier than he did. And he would sit with his back to me on his bed over there. And then that's when I knew it was time to start doing our breathing. So we would begin breathing together. And after 1 hour, he would stand up and stretch like this. And then he would either say, okay, Chris, time for breakfast, or he would sit back down and we would breathe another hour. He never did it in smaller allotments than that. We would breathe another hour. Generally, it was not more than 2 hours. But on occasion, it was 3 hours. And on some special occasions, it was 4 hours. And I'm only telling you this because that's how I learned to enjoy it. If you're doing key breathing with your teacher and he makes you sit there for 4 hours and breathe with him, and you don't like key breathing, or it's difficult for you to do because you're trying to do something yourself and you're struggling and not following these principles, then you will not be able to do it. And I speak from experience because I had a difficult time, but I learned. And after all this time, I think now, as I think back, that Suzuki Sensei was really teaching me that very thing, just to learn to enjoy the breathing. So Toei Sensei says, the ultimate happiness, I think it's translated in the Shokushu, the original Shokushu, is the supreme ecstasy. But the words are actually the ultimate happiness. Why do we do breathing? Well, breathing is, it's without, I mean, we could pick water, drinking water, we could pick eating, we could pick a number of other survival things, but we can go without them for a while. Breathing, you can only go for 2, 3, 4, or 5 minutes, maybe, and you die. So the most important thing is breathing. Plus, our breath is connected to our state of mind. When our breath is deep and calm, we are deep and calm. Access for us to the deepest, calmest realms are available to us when we are in this state of mind. I would like to say something about each of these. Well, that's what I was talking about. Exhale gradually with ease means let it be easy and enjoy it. Exhale with the smallest sound possible. Now, I don't know about you, but I think many of you learned to breathe like I did many years ago. Maybe not as many as me, but a lot of years ago. And originally when Toei Sensei and Shinichi Sensei, and maybe other teachers taught breathing, they taught that you make a noise like this when you breathe out. Right? You all know this. But Toei Sensei, 60 years ago when this was written, said, exhale with the smallest sound possible. So it was known. But somehow it didn't get translated out to all the dojos, to all the key societies in the world. So we struggled for years, feeling we had to make a nice, loud, full sound to be doing key breathing correctly. Okay, so that's number 2, exhale with the smallest sound possible. When I'm doing key breathing, I don't think you can hear it. I can hear something, but just barely. It is with the smallest sound possible. And at the same time, that means you're doing it with the least force as possible, the most relaxation as possible, the most calmness as possible. Inhale gradually from head to toe. These last three instructions, well, at least the next two instructions are exhaling and exhaling and inhaling, basically from the position of whole body breathing. So that's the first level of breathing, whole body breathing. We breathe in from the universe, we breathe the breath in and fill our body from the tips of our toes to the top of our head. And when we breathe out from the top of our head to the tips of our toes, emptying our bodies. That's called whole body breathing. Toei Sensei called this whole body breathing. And there's another level to breathing. The next level is called universal breathing. And when we do universal breathing, it's just like ki no ishiho, or ki meditation. So that when we breathe out to the ends of the universe and to all of humanity. This is kakudayo. And when we breathe in, we take in all of the universe, all of humanity, into our infinitely small one point. This is called universal breathing. And number 5 says, after inhaling, calm yourself at the one point in the lower abdomen, which to me applies directly to universal breathing. Before I finish this, there is one more level of breathing that Toei Sensei spoke about. And that's Musoku, he called it. Musoku. Mu means empty or nothing, no. And soku is breath, so no breath. But of course, if you have no breath, you're dead. So please don't practice that. No breathing means, or no breath means, and no one is breathing. No one is breathing. Breathing continues. The body is here. But there's no doing whatsoever. We can't find any doer in the mind-body. The breathing just happens. So it's directly being, this is like directly living your life. This doesn't happen to us very often in daily life, but it can happen often in something like ki breathing. And once it begins to happen to you, this musoku, then it becomes more familiar. I mean to say, this way of living, this way of being, this way of seeing the world and interacting with the world as if you are being lived by the universe, This is what Toei Sensei is teaching us. Okay, so that's what I have to say right now. You have question or comment? Please. So, Charles Boyer, please.
I can tell you that I love ki breathing, and I struggle with it.
What is the struggle?
What is the struggle?
Yes.
I struggle with my body.
You do like breathing, but you struggle with it. What is the struggle? You mean sitting still?
No.
Oh, what is it?
My body just sometimes doesn't cooperate, Sensei.
In what way?
That's difficult to say. Sometimes my back hurts. Sometimes I feel like I cannot fill up from head to toe.
Oh,
This isn't every time. This is occasionally.
so there's tension.
There's tension. That's right, Sensei.
So the tension causes discomfort, nervousness, or uneasiness, movement, and in parts of your body, and insufficient breathing.
And it's like a domino effect. It builds. If it starts that way, it sometimes gets worse.
Maybe all of you have this experience also once in a while you're breathing. And again, it's kind of a feedback mechanism. In other words, the less calm we are, we're breathing to experience calmness. And yet, if we're not calm, if we have tension in our body, we can't breathe to experience calmness. So the answer is not blowing in the wind. The answer is, of course, practice, practice, practice. So, of course, in the beginning, many, many years ago, when Suzuki Sensei told me, oh, you want to be like this, you breathe 1 hour every day from now on. There's no way. There's no way I could do that because I had way too much tension in my body. So it took years for me to learn to sit for an hour, and then I was breathing incorrectly. It took many more years. It was 20, 25, 30 years before I was really exhaling gradually with ease, really enjoying the breathing. But of course, like everything else in the beginning, we have to have discipline. Even if it's not going well, we breathe. Now, if we do that, if we use our life that way, if we use our time that way, at some point something happens, and we fall in love with what's actually good for us instead of just loving the things that aren't so good for us. That's the best thing we can do, is fall in love with breathing. And it's not just breathing. I mean, you like breathing already. It's falling in love with this process of sitting deeply at ease. And instead of the breathing inhibiting that ease, the breathing serves like a repeating engine in the universe to stroke us and take us deeper and deeper and deeper into this great sense of ease and ultimate satisfaction, as Doi Sensei called the supreme ecstasy. That sounds so far away, but it's not. It's right here. Okay, someone else, please. Okay, here he is. Udo, hi.
Hi.
Oh, you have a gi on. Look. Oh,
Well,
I don't have my gi on. Okay.
so thank you very much. I wanted to ask you if you could elaborate about the shift from universal breathing to Musoko. What do you feel in this moment?
What do you feel?
How do you know this?
Well, I think that, okay, that's a really good question. When I can only speak from my own experience, when I'm doing universal breathing, I have a very distinct sense of myself in this locale in relation to the inclusive universe and in relation to this infinitely small center of that universe. Just like when I'm doing Kakudai Hoshūchū, the same feeling, but there's a distinct sense of me seeing this happening, me being the originator of it happening. This, of course, is you might say, more advanced than doing whole body breathing, but you're still as dumb as a rock because I'm still wrapped up in me. It's still as narcissistic as can be. Of course, we're all narcissists. So we do this kind of exercise to help us notice that. And so as I'm sitting in this ease, breathing in and breathing out, what happens is, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it doesn't happen because of anything I do. I've tried. There is nothing I can do to make that happen. But it just happens. And I will say that there's a deep calmness that will always be there, or it doesn't happen. And there's just that sense of me in the middle of everything, this me-ness, this Chris Curtisness. It's not gone, it's just dispersed to everywhere. There's still a center of a one point, and there's still an infinite sphere, an infinity, an inclusiveness. But there isn't any feeling of separation from it. And when I'm doing universal breathing, there still is a sense of separation. It's a sense of wonder that I feel when that happens. It's not emotional like this when it happens, but when I think of it, it makes me cry because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful not being full of myself. I guess is what I mean. Which means that I must be full of myself a lot, which maybe everybody knows already. So this kind of practice, I mean, can you imagine? I can't imagine not having this kind of practice, not having this kind of experience. So I'm really glad you asked me that. People don't usually ask me that.
Thank you very much.
Afraid what I might say, but you're very courageous. So we're coming to the end of our time here now, and I thank you very much for coming together with me and doing this. I hope it hasn't been too distracting. At least we've had a chance to see each other and to interact together a little bit. And during a time like this, which is very, very unique and unusual, requiring us all to pretty much stay home most of the time. Okay? So thank you very much for joining me. And I am going to end the meeting now. And I have to say goodbye to everyone. I love you all. Thank you so much for joining me.